Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
We love authors. We have a lot of authors on our show, and especially authors that are unusual. You know, we do get people who they have how-to books, and we have people, unfortunately, here from the Holocaust, and we have things like that. Then we have meal planners, and we have all sorts of things. But when I first read John Sambalino's book, it was different. It was philosophical. It taught me all about a lot of religions, and I thought, what kind of a guy is this? And I had a pleasure, of course, talking to him and finding out a lot about him. And he's, let's see, did you say that you were writing another book? I forget, John.
No, I make notes as I go through stuff and have little revelations or read other books, but I'm not in the process of writing a book now.
Right. Well, you don't have to be, because this book is a big, very important book. It's certainly, and of course, the title and the cover is really amazing. And for people who aren't looking at the cover now, it's a cover of a bottle cap, literally, with feet on the ground. And is God in that bottle cap? A search for truth. And the story, of course, was so well told, John, about you finally had it in a sense. Someone kept talking to you about their particular religious devotion, and you just took all your knowledge of all the religions that you learned about throughout the world and just said, so if it's everywhere, John, is God, and not you, but you said to the person, is God in that bottle cap? And that's kind of something you would laugh at, isn't it? Did he laugh when you first said that, or he just rose his eyebrows?
Yeah, I think he didn't. I don't know if he laughed, but he looked at me waiting for a punchline. He thought I was telling a joke.
Oh, I see.
And then I said, no, I'm serious. I said, is God in that bottle cap?
Why don't you explain to people a little bit about that, people who haven't really, maybe they listened to you before, but they forgot, because I think it's really well done.
Okay, well, what it was I used to live in South Carolina, and I would swim at lunchtime with the local YMCA. And one of the guys I would swim with was a Christian minister, and we got to talk, and I told him, I meditate a lot and this and that, but I wasn't much of a churchgoer. I don't really go to church. And he was saying, how important is it to go to church and God and religion, this and that. And I said, well, I don't really need to go to church. I just meditate, and I'm doing my own inner thing. So he's always going in on me to go to church. So one day we're walking out to our cars after we're done swimming, and he's going in again, you got to go to church, And lying on the ground is this bottle cap. And I said, hey, Dan, see that bottle cap? I go, is God in that bottle cap? And again, he just looked at me like waiting for a punchline. I said, no, seriously, if God is everywhere, is he in that bottle cap, or is he everywhere except in that bottle cap? And then I went on to say, how about the bullet that shot Kennedy? I said, was God in the bullet that shot Kennedy, or was God everywhere except for the bullet that shot Kennedy and except in that bottle cap? I said, if God is everywhere, he has to be in everything in the universe, even thoughts and everything. And so then we just had a long conversation about God, the nature of reality, and what's going on. And he was just kind of flabbergasted. He just never heard anything like that in his whole life.
Right, and it wasn't that you were challenging him so much, but you were curious, right?
Yeah, there's no challenge. The thing is, there's only one ultimate reality, okay? And it's the same for every single religion. There's not a Christian and a Muslim and a Jewish ultimate. There's only one ultimate reality. And all the religions are trying to express that in words. It can't be expressed in words. The founders of these religions, or what the religions are based on, like Jesus and Buddha and Krishna, they were all experiencing the ultimate reality because everything is it. And they were trying to put it in words, which you can't do. So these guys are trying to explain something which they've never experienced. They don't realize that God is a word, represents something, and that something is the ultimate reality for the universe, what everything actually is. What there was before there was anything physical, there was something. And you can call it energy, you can call it space, whatever you want. You can also call it God. It's just a word representing something.
Right, and so, and tell me something. Were you always, like, when you were a little kid, were you always interested in things like this? I mean, what kind of influence did your parents have? Did you go to church every week?
Yeah, my mother was Christian. My mother was Catholic. My father was atheist. When they got married, my father said, you can raise the kids Catholic, they just can't go to Catholic school. But I mean, I remember being 5 years old, and some guys were working on my parents' house, and so I don't even remember what I said, but they said something about something. They said, how's life treating you? And I go, well, pretty rough, this and that. And the guy goes, he called all the words. He said, come and listen to this kid. I was like 5 years old. I was 5 years old. But I've always had this sense somehow that what my senses were perceiving wasn't the real reality. There's just something else going on. I mean, how could I just be born as a person, all of a sudden you're nothing, then you're a person, and you're dead, then you're nothing again? Is that really what's going on? It just didn't make sense to me. And if Jesus and Buddha and Krishna, I didn't know Buddha and Krishna at the time, but if Jesus was this person or this God that was going to live forever and this and that, well, why him and why not everybody else? You know, I wanted to find out what was going on, and I had no clue where to look, because who are you going to talk to? It ended up being this thing called enlightenment, but I'd never heard anybody say the word enlightenment, not my parents, not the priests or anything. It wasn't until I went to college and read a book that spoke about enlightenment that I said, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. This enlightenment thing is how you understand what's really going on.
So this is just a natural thing that happened to you and that you were so interested in.
I think people are born with that. It's like little kids, they can play the piano fantastic when they're 3 years old, or they can speak a foreign language they've never heard before. I was just born with this innate sense that things weren't the way they were, an innate sense that somehow I got to try to figure this out.
Yeah, that's what's happened. So do you help people with what you know with all this? What do you do? I know you haven't started a church or anything, but do you explain where you've traveled and why you think this way? Because you've led a very interesting life.
Well, yeah, I'll talk to different people. I mean, one story that just kind of breaks down was a year ago I was at a friend's house, and her husband was cooking this marinated chicken, and he spilt all this chicken marinade all over the kitchen floor. I mean, it was like a mess. And she's like just freaking out, and he's going, oh my God, I go, I'll clean it up. And they go, no, trust me, I will clean this up. And the wife is like going crazy. And I said, Janet, let me ask you a question. What are you going to do when something really bad happens? And she just stopped dead in her tracks. She goes, oh my God, you're so right. You're so right. I mean, this is really like not a big deal at all. I said, exactly. I said, this is not a big deal, and you're going crazy. So people have to get a sense of what really is important, and a lot of these things that drive us crazy are just not that important.
Yeah, that's really true. You really have a good look on life. Do you have children? 4
kids. I got girl, boy, 35, 33, 30, and 28. The oldest, the girls are married. The oldest girl, I've got a 14-month-old grandbaby and another one due in a couple of months.
Oh, my gosh. So,
and I got a wife thrown in there, too.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And so do you talk to them about your feelings with all this? I mean, do they know how
I've been talking. Yeah, everybody knows how I feel. I mean, when I first learned about this, when I first had my first experiences back in 1978, when I really had some incredible experiences of feeling this oneness with nature and everything was going on, I wanted to talk to everybody. I would talk to strangers in bars. I would talk to anybody. I bring it up, and you realize people just aren't that interested in it. If they're interested in spirituality, it's just superficially. They're not really interested in it. So I don't really bring it up, although if anybody asks me, I talk about it. But if it fits into the conversation, I definitely talk about it. So my kids have heard me talk about it a million times. Because the thing is, I started meditating many years before they were born, and I stopped drinking many years before they were born, and stopped getting high, everything before they were born. So they've never known anything but their father meditating 2 or 3 hours a day every single day. That's how they grew up.
Yeah, that is amazing, because years ago, men were not in doing that as much as women. Somehow, you even think about yoga, and it wasn't always the men, but somehow you caught it. And tell us some of the famous people that you've been around in the world and whom you've talked with.
Well, it's not nobody that famous. I mean, I guess there's some famous people. I have some friends that are from Mongolia, and there's a Mongolian sect that follows the Dalai Lama. So I got to see the Dalai Lama. I believe it was Princeton, New Jersey, many years ago with my friends that were Mongolian, and it was a very small room. We were in a room with maybe like 50 people, so that was really nice. And then I got to meet Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who was the founder of Transcendental Meditation, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, who was the founder of the Art of Living Foundation. I've done a lot of things with him. I spent a lot of time with Amrit Desai, who was the founder of Kripalu Yoga and I Am Yoga. And, that's probably all from the meditation side. And then a lot of different Tai Chi masters I've been able to study with over the years.
Yeah, this is terrific. And how's it changed your personal life? You still have stress, or you still get upset when certain things happen? I mean, with this political world, everyone gets upset. So
yeah. Well, it's like I have friends that we talk politics, and they get upset, but they're actually mad. I mean, they're upset and they're mad, and their blood pressure's going up. I say I'm upset, but I don't get mad. And my blood pressure's going up because me, it's just kind of like, it's almost the whole thing is like a dream. I mean, yeah, you want to be, you don't want to do, you can take your action, but there's no need to get upset. If somebody does something that you think is wrong, you can do whatever you think is proper to correct the situation, but no need to get mad. The situation is what it is. No need to get mad. But the thing is, it's not like try not to get mad. You just don't get mad. So you say about stressed out. Things stress me out, yes, but not as much as I used to, and not many things will stress me out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not that big of a deal.
So you use what you've learned for yourself and for your friends.
Yeah, but it's more than using it. It's kind of like, it's just like your whole system changes, and the way you view things changes, and the way things affect you changes. So it's not like it's kind of like, let's say, for example, you're a little kid and you're afraid of dogs, and all of a sudden, you have a couple dogs. And you realize that all dogs are mostly nice, and you're not afraid of dogs. And so a dog runs out one time, big dog, and you're not afraid. Well, you don't use what you've learned about not being afraid of dogs. You're just not afraid of dogs. It's not, you don't have to go, now let me remember I'm not afraid of dogs. No, you're just not afraid of the dogs.
Right.
So that's how things are. It's not like I'm going to use this now so I don't get stressed out. No, you just don't get stressed out. But if you do get stressed out, then you can use the knowledge that, this too will pass. Everything's moving forward. It's not a big deal, and you can use that little bit of intellectual knowledge to help it if you need to.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. So, do you actually teach this anywhere formally?
Well, I teach qigong classes, which are like qigong is kind of like it's kind of like Tai Chi. It's a Chinese exercise for energy. I'm the senior student for this qigong master that immigrated from mainland China. I teach his classes. I've taught Tai Chi in the past, and I do teach this thing, Sudarshan Kriya, which is through the art of living. I do teach that to prisoners in federal and state prisons, and also to correctional officials in state prison.
And we talked about this when we were on the phone. I'd love for you to share some of that. Remember I said I was going to ask you to do that you go into the prisons and you're not afraid. Talk about what's been going on in the prisons and what you do. That's so interesting.
Well, I go into the classes that I go into the prisons. There could be anywhere from just, a few people to like 20, 25 people. And I'm just there to teach them, to meditate and talk to them a lot because, this is a typical thing that will happen. I'm talking to these guys about the nature of reality and stuff in a very, just conversational manner. And then I'll stop and I'll go, well, now what should we do? And they'll go, just keep talking. And I go, about what? And they go, we don't care what you talk about. Just keep talking. We like hearing we've never heard anything like this before. So I just talk to them. But the most important thing is we teach them meditation techniques so they actually have the experience of these higher states of consciousness. But, the thing is this also, is the ancient yogis, they lived in caves in India, and they lived there for decades just meditating, to reach higher levels of consciousness. Well, in prison, your cell is your cave. If you're a homeowner, your room is your cave. Wherever you are is your cave. It's just the way you think of it. I mean, I do a lot of fasting, and the difference between, say you go on a 10-day water fast, the difference between being on a 10-day water fast and being lost out in the jungle with no food for 10 days is that one, you're fasting, and the other, you're starving. But it's just your outlook on it. They're both the same things happening, but in one situation it says, oh my God, I'm starving. The other person says, no, I'm fasting. So it's just how you look at things.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Tell me about your fasting. How many, is it a day you fast, or what do you do?
Well, I've doing a lot of fasting. I started fasting when I was probably, 25 years old. One time I was fasting with a friend of mine just for like a whole day. And at the end of the day, he goes, "This is stupid. I'm going to eat," because he got so hungry. But I fasted lots of times. I mean, for maybe 5 years, I would fast 1 day a week. I would for one complete whole day. I would drink nothing but water. And then I've done many 3-day water fasts where I just drink water only, distilled water only for 3 days. And I've done many 10-day fasts for 10 days in a row. All I drink is distilled water. So, and that gets a lot of toxins out of your body because there's a lot of toxins in your body only come out with a water fast. Nothing else will get them out. There's no medicine. There's no exercise. When you start fasting, once your body's consumed, what's in your stomach or intestines, then it goes what's in your body, and it goes after cancers and all kind of weird stuff. So for the last 8 years, what I do is I'm on this now intermittent fasting where I only eat for an 8-hour period every day. I've been doing it for like 8-10 years. So I only eat personally between noon and 8 o'clock every day. And then the rest of the time I just drink water. It gives your system a chance to rest because once you're done digesting your food, then it goes into a fasting mode, and fasting is really, really, really good for you, and there's lots of research on it now, even research from Harvard that says it can even help, you live longer, and it's just really good for you.
Are you thin? I'll bet you're very trim. I can just tell you now.
I'm not thin. I'm a very muscular kind of person. I mean, I was always a muscular person, so I'm not like a skinny guy. But I'm today I was about 5'10" and 170 pounds. I weigh less now than I weighed in high school, but in high school I was much more muscular.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are good. I'll tell you, I'm pretty impressed with your who you are and what you do. So. Have you been, I want you to go back to the prison system and all with this. Were you ever nervous about going in there? What made you want to go to the prisons to begin with?
Well, when I first learned to be a teacher of this meditation thing through the Art of Living, I wanted to teach in prisons because anybody can teach regular people. I mean, regular people, that's not a big deal. But to go into prisons, a lot of people just don't have the mentality to go into a prison and teach prisoners. And I thought prisoners really needed it. And but for the luck of God, I'm not in prison. God, you're younger, you do all kind of crazy stuff. So I just want to go into prison because I thought they could use it the most. But the conversation we had the other day was, I'm never afraid. I'm in a room by myself with a bunch of prisoners. I'm never afraid, ever. So I was in a room with a bunch of prisoners in Philadelphia prison system many years ago, and it was a bunch of black guys in the class. There was a couple white guys and a lot of Hispanic guys. And I'm not sure if it was the black guys or Hispanic guys, but one group started making a lot of noise and disrupting the class. The other group said, knock it off. We're trying to learn something. And the guys go, oh, and next thing you know, I got a race riot going on. I mean, I got a room with 30 people, and they're getting ready to all hell's going to break loose. I just stood up and I said some colorful words. What I said was, sit down, shut up, knock it off right now. And they all go, boo, they kind of come to attention. Right. I said, knock it off, and I separate them out. Because I'm not taking any nonsense. So the thing what you do with prisons, it's like anything. Don't let it get too far. Once it goes too far, it can't come back. So once people start going crazy, I step right in. If they're talking to their partner, I say move across the room. Or if they're talking right away, I stop the whole class. You got something to say for the whole class, but you don't let them go off the deep end. You got to keep control. But I do it in a very nice way. It's never confrontational, and it's never anything. I mean, my kids growing up would say many times, Dad, you know what? You can yell at us, and Mom can yell at us. But when you yell at us, we don't really care that much. But when Mom yells at us, she's mad at us. But you don't seem to be mad at us. So you can say the same words, but people can tell. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've yelled at the kids so many times when they were little. I had to turn my head because I couldn't stop laughing when I'm yelling at them. But I'm yelling at them because I got to yell because they just stick their finger in a life socket, whatever. But yeah, that kind of thing.
So where did you get this from? Your parents like this?
No. My mom was more calm. My dad was more of a screamer. But no, I think people are just different. I mean, like I always say to people, you have kids. You have kids, I guess, right?
Yes.
Or no?
Yes,
yeah.
And so grandchildren and everything.
Yeah. So anybody, you can raise 4 kids, and one of them is going to win the Nobel Peace Prize, and one of them is going to go to jail for bank robbery. And you've raised them exactly the same way. Yep. So kids come with a little bit of baggage on their own. It's you do your best, but they're all different. So I just the way I am is kind of the way I was born, I guess. I don't know. Right.
I'm a grandmother of a lot of children, but my grandchildren live in Miami. My grandchildren, and they're triplets. They're 14 years old now. That's a handful.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, definitely, and that's it. So you got triplets. You got 3 people all the same age,
right?
All popped up at the same time. Those kids could grow up being totally different from each other, yet they're raised the same, they're fed the same, but they could grow up being totally different. I mean, there's always that possibility. You just don't know what's going to happen.
No, that's right. It's true.
Yeah.
And you,
yeah.
So do you remember your grandparents?
Oh yeah. I have longevity in my family. Nobody dies before they're like 90 ever. My grandmother died when she was 96. So I mean, I was probably I don't know how old I was, but I was in my 50s when she died. And my other grandparents, I knew them. I mean, I had all my grandparents when I was in law school. So I was in my 20s. I had all my grandparents. So I knew them really well.
Yeah, and they're very good. You learn from them. And were they religious? Were any of them religious?
Well, my father's parents were not religious. My mother's parents were Catholic. My mother's mother was Catholic, and she went to church literally every single day. So so she was real religious, but she wasn't religious like a preachy kind of religion or anything. She just was a Catholic and went to church every single day. Was a nice person, but she wasn't pushing it on me or anything like that. Although when I was younger, they wanted me to get into more of this Catholicism and stuff, and I just say, it's just not quite the reality. And the people down the street were from at the shore. We have a house at the beach in New Jersey. They were from Romania or something, and their uncle was like this. I don't know. He was a bishop or he was just a Monsignor, whatever he was. Said, you got to talk to him. So I found to talk to the guy, And he's laying his whole rap on me, and I'm talking to him, and I mean, it's just not that I was holding my own, but he was just saying things, just words that meant nothing, just that he read from a book, and I'm saying that's not quite the reality. At the time, I didn't know what the reality was, but I knew it wasn't those words he was throwing at me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, it's lovely, and people, I just want to go back over this book again. I hope you, for those of you listening, that this book is God in that bottle cap. You won't forget the name, or at least you'll recognize it. It's A Search for Truth, and it's by John D. Sambalino, Sambalino, and he was really our book of the month in our September issue. And I have enjoyed this book. I pick it up every once in a while, even though I've read it. When I was first reviewing, I pick it up because it seems like I always learn more things from you. Have you ever, this is going to be a very funny question to ask you, have you ever reread your book?
Have I reread the book? I've read my book.
It.
I've read the book probably 20 times.
Oh, okay, because a lot of times you write a book and then you don't reread it again.
Oh, no, I read it a lot because it brings things back to me because when I talk to people like we're talking right now, my thoughts are kind of all over the place. But when you write the book, it's very organized and step by step, which really helped me put all my thoughts in order, which I really liked a lot. But the reason I wrote the book was this: I had a lot to say, and people over the years saying you got to write a book. So I said, okay, I'll write a book. So I realized that what I'm talking about, you don't get it from a book. You don't get it from words. You got to meditate, do whatever to understand what's going on. So I'd say, well, okay, first of all, who am I to say what I'm saying? I mean, I'm nobody famous. So the first part of the book is my entire journey. Things happened to me when I was a little kid and the things I've done, places I've been, all the experiences and revelations I've had along the path as they came at their kind of chronological. Then at the end, I put it all together, talking about all this kind of stuff and different religions and science, because science is part of the whole equation and everything. But what people get out of the book is this. People read the book and they start meditating. And the reason is this, because the book was written for one purpose only. It was to convince people that there's something else going on besides what their senses are picking up. There's something else going on. Don't know what it is, but there's something else going on. And whatever it is, it's worth checking it out. And Jesus described it as the kingdom of God that lives within. There's something else going on. So you got to just check it out. And I give people some guidelines and some reference books to read and tell them, all the religions are trying to say the same things. So don't just focus. If you're like, for example, if you're like Jewish, then study all the Jewish stuff, the Judaism, but also study stuff about Islam and Hinduism and Catholicism. They're all trying to take you to the same place. They're not taking you to different places. So, and if they're contradictory, it's not the more that you read, the more you understand. It's the more that you experience, the more you understand. So the two things go hand in hand: the reading, the studying, the contemplation, and the experience of actually meditating, where you calm down. You calm your whole system, and you actually experience that unity that they're talking about. It's actually something that you experience, but it's hard to describe, because when that's happening, you're not experiencing that oneness. You actually are that oneness, and it's not. And the meditation is not creating actually an experience. It's just allowing you to experience what's always there. We're just unaware of it because our mind is racing and everything. Our senses are taking us out. All this. We're just unaware of what's actually going on every single second from before the universe came into existence forever. Yeah,
that's easy. You do speak so well. Do you think that your law degree really helped you?
I think so. One thing I remember one of my law professors said when I went to law school, he said that when you go to law school, it's not to learn a bunch of laws. He says it's just to learn how to think, how to logically think and put things together. Because, in law school, they'll give two people, the opposite sides of one issue and say, okay, now you defend whatever side you're pointing to. So you can defend either side, but being able to say it kind of like, words are for one reason, to communicate, So like my daughter's in medical school, And she'll start like talking to me, and I go, Maddie, I don't have a clue what you're saying. You've got to talk like a regular person. You can't throw these words out that only doctors. I said, you've got to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
So it's all about communicating.
You're
and people,
a great communicator. You are.
Yeah, and I've had some friends that have, that from high school that didn't go to college or anything, and they would say, I always like talking to you because you never, you're a lawyer, but you don't use these gigantic words. You're not trying to like impress people. You're just talking like a regular person, but I can understand what you're saying. So it's all about communicating, and words is what you got to use to communicate.
Yeah, that's right. You're good. I know your kids are very lucky to have you. Actually, I have to say that you're. Wow. Well,
I'm lucky to have them.
Yeah, you are.
It's a mutual thing. It's good.
Yeah.
It's just good. Yeah.
Well, John, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I have to tell you, I'm just looking at your picture now. You're attractive. You're very youthful. You've got lots of things in your mind, and so what? You have anything special you're going to create in the next 10 years?
I don't think so. To me, life is an experiment for everybody. Life is your experiment.
Right.
So my experiment. A couple things that I'm experimenting with is this spirituality aspect. How can you do what spirituality things can you do to understand the reality of existence? The other thing is how healthy can you be? So
Right.
I'm very
Yeah.
picky with my diet, what I eat, what I drink, exercise, all that. Just trying to be healthy. And but if I drop dead tomorrow, I drop dead tomorrow. But it's not because I'm smoking cigarettes and out there doing something crazy.
Exactly.
But life is an experiment. Everybody should just live their life the way they like. But things are not mutually exclusive. You can be a stockbroker and still play the piano and still water ski.
Well,
you can
John,
do more than one thing at the same time.
It's great to talk to you. Thank you so much, everybody. Go buy the book. They can get it on Amazon.com. Is God in That Bottle Cap? A Search for Truth by John D. Sambalino, Sambalino. Thanks again, John.
Thanks so much, Anita. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
I always do. Bye.
Okay, bye.